All right, guys. Today is the day, the very first day of the dyno testing we're going to be doing with the C8 Z06. This is going to basically act as a baseline. So let's do it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for pressing play. Today, like you heard there in the beginning, is a dyno day. We've been talking about this for a little while on the channel, and it starts today. So what we're going to be doing today is basically baselining the car. Now, I have a good bit of mods on the car already. I have 92mm ported throttle bodies from Solar Performance, Soul Performance cats, AWE exhaust, and of course, the eventuri intake. So we're gonna dyno this as my baseline because I've already got a good bit of mods on this car, but I want a good baseline to base the rest of these mods on. So we're gonna baseline it today. Then I'm gonna come back and tear it all apart and put on a nice set of headers. Stay tuned for that video. I don't want to give it away just yet. Then after that, I'm going to drive the car for a few days to make sure that it is fully acclimated to the new headers, and then we're going to dyno it again. Then I'm going to do a tune, and I'm going to drive that around, get that tune perfected, get the car used to it, and then we're going to dyno it again. So we're going to see how much all this stuff adds in stages. So, first steps first, baseline. Let's go. And one more thing before we go, even though it was a different dyno and a different day, different temperatures, all this different stuff, I do have one other dyno that I did with this car when it was just an AWE exhaust and it dynoed. All right, let's take a time out here for a second because the number I quoted on the screen here ended up being incorrect. I did not remember exactly how much power the car made when it was at AWE, but I had to go back through my videos and I found it. And the car with the AWE exhaust made 590.8 horsepower and 392 pound-feet of torque. So these are interesting numbers because, like I said, I don't have a dyno for my car when it was stock. However, there are multiple reports of a stock Z06 producing between 560 and 580 horsepower stock. So it's safe to say my car sits somewhere in that number range. Now, I'm going to show you some numbers from a shop down in Florida that recently dyno tested a stock Z06 and showed these same numbers on a dynojet. So we're literally comparing very similar numbers with a slight fluctuation. Now, like I said in the beginning, this video is not necessarily to show how great my car is doing or anything. It's really just to produce a baseline, but I wanted to cover all the bases here. So stock, my car was likely to produce between 560 and 575-ish horsepower. With the AWE, it showed 590. And then all of the other mods that I added, I did not dyno it again after that. So that's what we're going to find out today. All right, so here it is, guys. It is on the dyno. And as you can see, this one's kind of built into the ground. This is a dynojet. So we're going to be putting down some numbers here in a second. Like I said, this is going to act as basically a baseline, but yeah, we're here. Let's get it done. Man, she looks pretty, even on the dyno. She's pretty and mean. Gotta love it. So we've run it twice now. We got a number over there, and the number's pretty decent. It's, if nothing else, consistent. We're gonna let it cool down for about 10 minutes and we're gonna run it again because the number is good, but it's possibly getting heat soaked at this point. So we got fans at the side intakes, fans at the front, another one on the side. Gotta let her cool down. I'm gonna pop the hatch too while she's cooling up. But anyway, stay tuned. Base numbers are coming. That sound never gets old. But anyway, it's been about half an hour, so we're going to run 2 more times because we ran 2 earlier. We're going to run 2 more. The 2 that we just ran were literally within not a half a horsepower of each other, so the car's definitely pretty consistent, which is a great thing, of course. So we'll run 2 more times, and then yeah, we are about ready to go. for our baseline, because that's what this is all about. I want to know what the headers are going to add. That's what we're doing next. We're putting the headers on, then we're bringing it back here to dyno it again. Then after the headers, we're going to come back again and with Alex's tune, and we're going to see how much all this stuff adds. A nice set of headers too. Alright guys, so here are the numbers. These are the first two runs, 614, 614, and then over here at the torque, we were at 453 and 451, so pretty consistent. Then we let the car cool down for a little bit, and we got 621, basically 28, and over at the torque, 453, 460. So the highest run of the day was about 628, which is pretty strong for these mods. This number here is basically the combination of all the mods I have so far. We're going to be doing the headers when I get back, and then we're going to bring it back here and see if the headers add anything to this number. So with this being said, I know for the headers, after they're installed, I'll probably put the car on the dyno and immediately let it cool under these fans for probably 10 or 15 minutes, because the drive here is not that long. I'm only about 20 minutes away. So I'm going to let it cool down a little bit so we can get the best possible run, because that number is very strong for this car. All right, so we are back from the dyno, guys. This was a little bit of a surprise. I thought the car was going to be somewhere around 615, 620. It actually surprised me a little bit and came in a hair higher at about 628. So this is a combination of 4 different mods, of course. This is the Eventuri, Soul Performance Cats, AWE exhaust, and the Solar 92mm ported throttle bodies. Now, I know I'm going to get this question already. Well, Justin, I thought the car is 670 stock. Well, there's a lot of power lost with these, typically. Based on the dynos I've seen, the car produces somewhere around 570, 580 to the wheels stock. So this is a good 40 to 48 horsepower pickup on the top end, which is interesting because the top end is not the full story. Usually, the mods that we put on this car, they typically gain power in the mid-range, which I don't have a dyno of because I didn't dyno the car whenever I was doing the mods. I did it as a combination of the mods I have currently. So really the power picked up throughout is not going to be visible on these curves here, but you can see a nice bump right there. And if I had to guess, that right there is probably where the Eventuri and throttle bodies pick up power, and then throughout another little jump right there, probably again Eventuri and throttle body specifically. But yeah, this is a pretty nice dyno graph here for this car being, if I can get this to focus, 628 horsepower. I'm pretty happy with those numbers. Now, what this means is, like I said, this is just a baseline. So unfortunately, I didn't do this with all of the mods, so I can't show you how much of a power gain there was throughout the entire curve. All I can show you is what it picked up at the end. And to settle around 40 plus horsepower gained at the very end with these mods is pretty stout. That's pretty strong. I'm okay with those numbers. What we're going to do next is we're going to start tearing stuff apart. I'm going to literally tear out a lot of stuff out of the engine bay because we got to do headers. And the headers we're going to be doing, you're going to see in the next video. I'm going to do the headers and we're going to dyno it again. If I had to guess, we're going to pick up probably another 8 to 10 horsepower there. And then we're going to do the tuning. Now, the thing that is interesting about all of this is I've seen some videos recently that show no gains from an eventuri intake, no gains from a 92 ported throttle body. We're about to do a lot of testing on this with stock cars and eventuri cars and stuff like that, so stay tuned. There's a lot of dynoing coming that's not even going to involve my car. But the stuff that does involve my car, literally the stuff we did today that I have physical numbers showing, proves that these mods pick up power. So you guys can rest assured, if you get an eventuri intake or the 92 throttle body, you are going to pick up power. So if you're seeing stuff on the internet that's telling you otherwise, it is false. It literally does not make any sense at all that putting on bigger throttle bodies to flow more air or higher flowing air filters to move more air is not going to make any power. I mean, it doesn't take a giant brain to figure that out, but now we have literal proof. It's making power. These cars are typically 580 to 590, somewhere in there, stock, sometimes as low as 570 I've seen. So mine showing almost 630 is obviously picking up power from these mods. Anyway, I don't want to make this too much about a he said, she said, pointing the finger thing. What I want it to be is strictly a baseline. I did 2 runs at 615, 1 run at 628, and another run at 621. So around 620 to 630 is what this car is making, and I'm pretty happy with that as a stock car with a couple mods. We're going to do headers next, and then we're going to dyno it again. That's ultimately what this comes down to. So stay tuned for those videos coming. She did good. The old girl did good. So I'm very happy with this. Until next time, guys, thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. You're not going to want to miss what's coming. And as always, stay obsessed.